परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय सम्भवामि युगे युगे। जन्म कर्म च मे वेद्यम् एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः। त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन। वीतरागभयक्रोधाः मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः। ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहम्। महवत्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः। काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः। क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा। चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टम् गुणकर्म विभागशः। तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययम्। न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा। इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते। एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात्मं पूर्वतरं कृतम्।
Verse number 10. Vitaraga bhaya krodhaha, freed from desire, fear and anger, absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, purified by the fire of knowledge, many have attained my being. Many have attained my being, in the sense it is an established path. It is something that is clearly established, and by following it, many have attained that state. Meaning, don't doubt what I am saying. That's what he is saying. Meaning, don't doubt what I am saying. For many has attained the state by following. Freed from desire, fear and anger. Desire fundamentally is of two types. Desire is always of two. You want something, you don't want something. And these two causes fear and whatever the modifications. So, the first thing about the desire is, you want something, you don't want something. You want something to happen, you don't want something else to happen. This is desire. I want profit, I don't want a loss. I want health, I don't want disease. So, desire means you want something, you don't want something else. Fear is what I don't want vandrumo, adu fear. I don't want this, But will it? Will it happen? If it happens, what? Will it happen? If it happens, what? இது வரவானா வந்துருச்சுன்னா what will I do? அத வரவிடாம how to? இதெல்லாம் fear. The second thing is, I want something, will I get it? Even if I get it, will it be Shashvata? I will get it, but I will get it, but I may lose it very fast. Then what is the point in getting it? I should get it, and that I get must be Shashvata. It has to be with me all the time. Now these are all the ways in which desire functions, desire manifests, and all this creates fear and anger. Anger because any one of this will be interrupted always. Any of these will be interrupted, meaning you will get that which you don't want. There is an anger, there is a frustration. Or you got something and you have planned to make sure that, and you have done enough precautions, you have planned to make sure that it will be with you forever, and something happens and it is getting disturbed. All these are the emotions. Emotions is nothing but a manifestation of this. So straight away they say desire causes these manifestations of emotions. You can ask, so what? Okay, this is nature. No, this is what is. The objection will be, so what? If this is what is happening, this is how it has to. This is how it has to happen. So what? If you are okay with it and not get agitated by it, then there is no problem. Where the problem comes is, the question that is always asked is, how not to be agitated. The question is, the search is, how not to be agitated. You may ask you may not ask how not to be agitated. You may ask how to be peaceful. You may not ask how to be peaceful. How can I be more efficient? You can ask the same question in very many ways. You can ask the same question, but the inner meaning remains the same. A state free from disturbances. A state where I am free from disturbances. Those who are purified by the fire of knowledge get to that state. Those who are purified by the fire of knowledge. Knowledge means illumination. Jnanam means illumination. It illumines. Illumination means there is no darkness there. Illumination means there is no darkness. Where there is knowledge, there is no darkness. What is the darkness? The darkness of the raga, bhaya, krodha. Raga means desire. Comes from the root word to earn, not E-A-R-N. Y-E-A-R-N. Yearning. That's what the root is. This yearning, raga, is the cause for roga. Roga means disease. This yearning is the cause for the disease. What is the disease? What is the disease? The agitated state is the disease. And this agitated state is because of what? The desire. And what is the nature of the desire? Just to say desire will not be clear. If you have not done this, analysis, it will be very difficult to understand what is desire. What is desire? You want something, you don't want something else. I want person A, I don't want person B. Don't take it as opposites. Even though I said I want health, I don't want disease, it's not only the opposites. A specific wanting something, a specific not wanting. I want person A, I don't want person B. I want situation A, I don't want situation B. Invariably what happens? That which you don't want you get, that which you want you don't get. Even if you get it, it causes more problem. Because even if you get it, the impermanency of that causes, even if you get it, the impermanency of what you have got is more painful. That's why they say, adu varame irundirakkala. Apdi kashtathile irundha kuda we will not have felt a little bit of that's why he calls it as maya. It has an illusory appearance of having come closer to you only to leave you. It has an illusory appearance of having come closer to you. That illusory appearance can be for 5 minutes, for 50 years, 70 years. Time has no relevance here. But it has this modifications. You follow? A person who is a victim of this, how can that person be peaceful? How can that person be happy? It is not possible, because always he is living in that fear. What is the fear? Fear of losing what you have. That is not the only fear. That's why I said both. That's why both. Fear of losing in terms of what you have only. Now, what about the other part of the desire? That also causes fear. What is the other part of the desire? I don't want this, but it keeps. In fact, the second is what? Most of the time the mental diseases is because of the second. That's why we say, why are you imagining? Don't imagine, live in the present, live in the reality. Adalla correct. But from where is it coming? Again it is connected to a desire. What is the connection to the desire? I don't want. In fact, this I don't want is stronger than I want. What I don't want, a person is more stronger than in that. Both causes fear. by the fire of knowledge, you are free of that, he said. What is the knowledge does here? It illumines. What does it illumine? What does the knowledge illumine? At one level, it says how temporary it is. Even they shall pass away. At one level, it says how temporary it is. At another level, it says, you got nothing to do with this. There are two stages. One is, even this shall pass away. Even this shall pass away means, it's a beginning stage. Meaning, you have something to do with it, but it is temporary. Whenever it is said temporary, what is meant here? You have a connection with it. Are you able to follow? Whenever it is said something is temporary, it is only temporary, means you have a connection with it. But it is temporary, don't worry. That is one stage. The second stage is you have nothing to do. You have nothing to do with it. Freedom is when you realize you have nothing to do with it. Freedom is always, remember this, freedom means the understanding that you have nothing to do with this. Then only you become free. But desires which create this bandha, which creates this union, will always make you believe that there is a connection. There is a connection. So at one stage, Jnanam says, okay, there is a connection, but temporary. Don't worry. But this will not help in the long run. Why? Because third time, fourth time, it becomes, third or fourth time the same knowledge, you become immune to it. Then what is the permanent way? The permanent way is to say, you have nothing to do. You have nothing to do with this. There is something that is happening, let us say, assume nothing is happening, I am just saying, for example. You feel you are connected to it in some way or the other. What is freedom from that? When somebody comes and tells you, you have nothing to do. When it is said, you have nothing to do with this, immediately there is a sense of, correct? Immediately there is a sense of relief. For desires create this bandha, and relief comes only when you have nothing to do with it. That is what jnana tapasa. Why he uses the word tapas, fire. Tapas is equated to fire. Why he says fire? Because it's burning. Practicing this will be like sitting on fire. Practicing this will be like sitting on fire in the beginning. But in the beginning, solline irukku. Enniki da we are going to the next station, beginning, 30 varshama ideda. Listening to the beginning stage only for 30 years. Jnana tapasa. By the fire of knowledge. Why he talks about knowledge is because nothing purifies like knowledge. Knowledge purifies, knowledge liberates. Nothing purifies like knowledge. Why they always talk about knowledge as ultimate purification? Because the understanding and the transformation, there is no time lag. It's instant. That is why it is ultimate purification. It's not that you gain knowledge now and 3 janmas later you will be purified. For understanding and transformation is instantaneous. But to get to that point of understanding is jnana tapas. But that understanding and transformation is instantaneous. As in, he gives example. Needle piercing the rose petal. Meaning, the knowing and transformation doesn't take, there is no time lag in that. It is instantaneous. But to come to this point, lot of tapas has to be done. What is the tapas? Tapas is that manana is the tapas. Having to go through it again and again. What is implied here is having to go through it again and again, followed by necessary action. That is implied here. You want to become the king just by repeating, I will be the king, I will be the king, or just by repeating, I am the king, I am the king. You are not going to become the king. Just by saying, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, you are not going to become Brahman. What is implied there is, whatever the action that follows will be followed. Or when the action is not happening, it means the understanding is not yet happened. Therefore, go back to manana, go back to jnanam, jnana tapasaha, purified by the fire of knowledge. Many have attained my being is the comfort. What is the comfort? Many have attained is an indication that it's a foolproof method. Many have attained success from IIT. Other than everybody wants to go to IIT. Why IIT? As though people are interested in sciences. Many have attained success out of it. Therefore, if I go there, you follow? To be convinced about the process, you need to be told that many have attained it before. Many have done it already. Many have attained it. What are you waiting for? That's the implication. What are you waiting for, Arjuna? For, I am not experimenting this with you. This is not something that is being told to you so that you are used as a guinea pig. You are used as a guinea pig for that experimentation. You are not that. I tried it on me first, and the spiritual path is so wonderful because the guinea pig is that person himself. In all other experiments which is so unscientific, the guinea pig is always somebody else, something else. Here it is so wonderful. Here it is so beautiful. Here the transformation is possible only here because you have to practice all this. You have to experiment all this upon yourself. Adhan tapas. But so good to tell others to. So good to tell others to practice. Nalla so nice to tell others practice. The first thing is, you are not the one on whom it is experimented. It is experimented upon myself, and it has worked. Not only that, following this, many have attained. Not only that, following this, many have attained. Then, what are you waiting for? That's the question. then what are you waiting for? I'm just waiting for this desire to get fulfilled. Once this is done, once this attainment is done, I will come. Once this is, அது இவங்கெல்லாம் அப்படிதான் சொல்லி இருப்பாங்க. அதெல்லாம் this is when you listen, you have to listen fully. You should not listen partially. Shastras is not working because we listen partially. We listen to that which suits us. We listen to that which we are already convinced about. That which is not part of our already knowing, or that which doesn't suit us, we conveniently we don't even hear. We don't even hear. That is why hearing, you have to hear again and again and again and again. You have to hear it again and again and again. Why? Because most of the time you are not hearing only in the first place. So for it to trigger, you have to hear it first. So what to do? Keep hearing it again and again. But Anna Sunnade Sulin Irkrang, let the Pusa Sonna we can listen, but if he is saying the same thing, what to do? Same thing Sonnale Kadala Vedlana. How can new things? You will be able to listen. But then the variety brings about a temporary alertness which makes you believe that you are listening. That's why and the temporary, that's why I come up with Pusada story, some story. I keep coming up with so many stories, something I keep. Drama we can experiment with Chumma, we can do all that. I'm talking about the real Shastra. They go on repeating the same thing again and again and again because you don't hear. How do you know that you didn't hear? How do you know that you didn't hear? How do you know that you didn't hear? You didn't do. If you are not doing it means you didn't hear. You didn't hear, therefore you didn't do, therefore there is no transformation. That is the... Are you able to follow? Hearing there are two types. One is you bring in your own meaning. In the Nyaya Shastra, where they talk about the various techniques of manana Allah, how all you miss reflection, how all you miss hearing, they have given so many analysis. The first lesson is right listening. That is why it's called Shruti. Listen. When you listen, always you will make the two mistakes in listening. In listening there are two mistakes. And the example they give is beautiful example. Get me a glass of water. Abdinna, I will be given a book. Are you able to follow? I want a glass of water. I am telling you. Example. Udane don't get up. Obedient student he will get up immediately. I asked for a glass of water and you give me a book. You are doing something, but what are you doing? You are not following what is. You are doing your own. You are doing your own thing. You want no. What difference does it make? You want something, I gave you. Now what difference whether it is water or. That is first mistake. The second is the most dangerous. There will be an analysis done and then given. Are you able to follow the first one? First one புரியலனா கை தூக்குங்க. I'll explain. இன்னும் நிறைய எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸ் சொன்னா புரிய வரும், அவ்வளவுதான். புரிஞ்சிருக்கு. I asked for a glass of water. Command. I asked for a glass of water. Now, if you have heard me rightly, what will you do? So, when the glass of water is given, what is understood? Rightly. So, when you are doing it, it means you have heard rightly. You are doing something else means you didn't hear it rightly. You didn't hear it rightly as far as the Shastra is concerned. If you are not hearing what the Shastra says, then what are you hearing? What are you hearing then? Your own mind. Your own self you hear and you do. That is first. Why we are not able to transform, why we are not able to grow in the example. One. Second mistake is you bring in your own analysis. That is more dangerous. The second thing is you bring in your own analysis. What is your own analysis? Supposing, same example he continues. Supposing I ask for a glass of water. I asked for a glass of water and oxygen is given to me. Are you able to follow? Purida? I asked for a glass of water and I am given oxygen. How did it happen? How did this happen? Solunga. H2O, correct. He is asking for water. What is water? Hydrogen and oxygen. Now he has no use for hydrogen. For what will he do with hydrogen? Therefore give him oxygen. Example looks so funny, no? But then this is how we hear and follow. This is how we hear and we follow also. As a result of which, whenever you say the transformation is not happening, the right doing is not happening. Why the right doing is not happening? Because it wasn't listened. You didn't hear it properly. Since you didn't hear it properly, first is what? Hear it. Hear it properly. And to hear it properly means repeatedly it has to be told. Repeatedly it has to be told. You hear. In the initial stages, hearing will be very clear because you will bring your own meaning to it, and straight away what the Shastra says will look very clear. It is so clear. Why are you going again and again and again? Because it's very clear in the beginning, because you didn't hear it. He asked for water and you gave the book and you are so satisfied that you understood it. Right. After repeated listening, a stage comes. What? Hearing it for so long, still it is not clear. Then starts manana. Purified by the fire of knowledge. This is how you get purified by the fire of knowledge. Jnana tapas. And jnanam is gained by 3. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Jnanam is gained by 3. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana means hearing. First step. Hear it. Hear it. Very first time you can't hear it properly. So you have to hear it again and again and again. You can't hear it properly. For if you hear it properly for the very first time, then we are at the level of Satyakama, we are at the level of Nachiketas. Therefore, since it is not happening, then we know, okay, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong to be at that, not at that level. No, there is nothing wrong. We can aspire to get that. You follow? So, how to properly listen? First, hear. When you repeatedly hear, your penetrating capacity increases. Otherwise, it's very shallow. There is no penetration. It's very shallow. When you hear it repeatedly, what happens? If you have a very good memory, it will straight go into the memory. Don't worry. Very few are naturally, very few only can do that. Those are the Jignasu types, and those types and all are not common. Yeah. Memory. You forgot 2 months back when we met, he keeps, hey, you are a Pandit, that's all. Jignasu type only you are. He keeps saying. Jignasu type where is it's a Pandit. You are still a Pandit. Yes, Swamiji, correct. What to do now? Very few goes into the memory. Nothing big, nothing extraordinary. It is that person's skill, nothing big about it. But the vast majority don't belong to the Jignasu type. The vast majority belong to bringing in their own meaning and doing it according to their meaning. So, the solution is common for everybody. What is the solution? Hear it properly. And you can't hear it properly. You have to hear it repeatedly. Proper hearing, not repeated hearing. Intelligence will come and interfere. Intelligence will come and interfere saying, this I know already. This I know already. So a time will come where I will be knowing everything and not know anything. A time will come where the intelligence, I will be knowing everything and not know anything. Now how do I know that I am not knowing it? When doing is not happening. That's the connect. I hear something and I go back and do something else. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it in the first place. So what to do? You know that you are doing something else. How do you know that you are doing something else? You are a victim of raga, bhaya, krodha. You are a victim of raga, bhaya and krodha. As long as you remain a victim of these three, it is the proof that you didn't hear it properly. So what to do? Repeated hearing. And you repeatedly hear. And how you repeatedly hear? This is where the Shastras comes in. How you hear repeatedly? Manana, question. Manana means question. Now, there are two types of questioning. One is you can question like a journalist. Journalist also asks a question. Are you able to follow? Journalist also asks a question. Vichara. He is also inquiring. He is also questioning. Another is the Shishya. What is the difference between the two questioning? When the journalist questions, there is no worshipfulness in that. When the Shishya questions, there is worshipfulness in that. Other than he says, Mam upasritaha, take refuge in me. They have taken refuge in me, not going and falling at his feet. Not falling at his feet, holding on to his feet, saying, I have taken refuge, get up and do exactly, do what I want to do. That holding on to the feet has no meaning. So, you need to do manana, means you have to question, you repeatedly hear. To understand what you hear, you have to question, and questioning is of two again. One is like a journalist asking a question. A journalist will ask a question. When did you achieve self-realization? You follow? Narendra also came and asked, have you seen God? The journalist also asks the same question. The Shishya also asks the same question. There is a difference between the two. What is the difference? That is why the questioning is always known as question with worshipfulness. It's called Pujaniya Vicharaha. It's known as Pujaniya Vicharaha. Questioning with worshipfulness. Most of the time, where there is worshipfulness, there will not be a question. Where there is a question, that upasana attitude goes out when question comes. When upasana comes, what goes out? Question goes out. Yeah. So always, always it is like walking with one leg only. What is this Pujaniya Vichara? The Upanishads again gives an example. What is this Pujaniya Vichara? Like a lame person and a blind person caught in the forest fire. The example. The Upanishad gives only examples, right? It doesn't give solution. Explanation. Solution is adha. And the statement is the solution and the statement is the. Like a lame person and a blind person. Pujaniya Vichara is like the lame person and the blind person. Lame person can see but can't run. A blind person can't see but can run. Are you able to follow? A lame person can see. What he can see? He can see the fire and he knows the escape route also. He has to get burnt. Suffering in that. Now, a blind one can run. Because of the blindness, he will run into the fire directly. Instead of running away from it, he will run into it directly. What does Pujaniya Vichara means? Both get together. How they get together? How did they get together? How did they get together? இதெல்லாம் எல்லாருக்கும் மனப்பாடமா தெரியும். Don't pretend you don't know. Blind man carries the lame man. When the blind man carries the lame man, he says the one man shows the other works. Pujaniya Vichara. This is what he means by purified by the fire of knowledge. This is how knowledge purifies. Purified by the fire of knowledge, many have attained my being. Take refuge in me, absorbed in me. Absorbed in me means soaked in me. Soaked in me means each and every cell is soaked in adanartham. Absorbed means soaked. Soaked means almost drowned. It's not soaked. Soaked means fully in it. Fully in it. In order to do all this, we have to be free from. In order to do all this, some minimum freedom is required from desire, fear, anger. So start with the listening. In order to listen itself, you need some minimum freedom from desire, fear, and anger. To summarize, fear is of what? வானான்றது வந்துருமோன்னு ஒரு fear. இருக்கிறது அவ்வளவுதான். That's all it is. வானான்றது வந்துருக்குன்னா what to? அவ்வளவுதான் fear is. Both are equated to. So the entire process of acquisition, if you analyze, is driven by this fear. The entire process of acquisition and hoarding is driven by this fear. What is the fear? I shouldn't get what I don't want. I should get what I want. ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் காமன் கண்டிஷன் என்ன? சாஸ்வதா is the common condition for both. That is how you understand you are seeking something permanent. Are you able to follow? For both the fears, what is the common condition? Permanency is the common. Permanency is the common condition for both. So it means, what are you actually seeking? Permanency. Since you are seeking that, ignore this. Are you able to follow? So fear is what? Fear is always of what? The impermanency. So how do you deduct? So you fear the impermanent. And by law, everything is impermanent. Therefore, you will be fearing always. Correct. யார் சொன்னது? அது கரெக்ட். ஆமா, அது ஒரு வாரமா நடக்கிற ஒரு டிராமால ஃபியர் இருக்கதான் இருக்கும். அதான் அது அனுபவத்திலேன்னு சொல்றாரு. பேசிட்டேன் நேற்றுக்கு. அதனால always in fear, either way. Why? Because this is the various modifications that you encounter. This is what the various modifications you encounter. What are the various modifications? Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. What all the modifications is arising out of fear of impermanency. Why all efforts become futile is because the impermanent can never be made permanent. All human efforts turn futile because that impermanent can never be made permanent. Even if gods want to come and make the impermanent permanent, it is not possible. Clear? That is where somewhere we want a permanency, at the same time not let go of, the karma. At least Kailashathile அப்படியே இருக்கலாம்ல. At least in Vaikuntha I can be. No. You follow? Somewhere that permanency is sought without let go. If you seek permanency without letting it go, you will be like the Trishanku. That is why the Trishanku episode is there. Trishanku episode, you know that, no? Yeah, he's still hanging. Yeah, he's still hanging upside down. Where he's hanging, we don't know. But he's still hanging upside down. Why? Because he wants the permanency and not let go. Therefore, the effort becomes futile. Because you cannot change the nature. From this arose this limited understanding also. Nature alla maatha mudiyaduppa, they say, no? No, from where it came? It came from this. It came from the deep philosophical vision of life. What is it? The nature cannot be changed. What is the nature? At the core, impermanent. That impermanent cannot be made permanent. That is why even for Swarga, even for Brahma Loka, they give a long period of time, but still call it as impermanent. They will say it's a long period of joyful existence, but still that is also impermanent. You are all the time acting towards impermanent and asking for permanency. That's where you have to take the U-turn. You need to drop that way of acting and start acting in a different way. Otherwise, it is only impermanent, and impermanency causes, which we have already established. Impermanency causes fear. That's why desire causes fear. Not only fear, there are various other modifications, but they talk about fear a lot. Fear and anger a lot. They don't talk about the other things a lot. Why they talk about these two a lot is because anger is destructive. Anger is the destructive nature in you. Anger is that which makes you violent. Violent as in thought, violent as in word, violent as in action. It is the anger that which makes, it is that anger that makes you destructive, violent. Always observe, anger subsides after you destroy something. Anger subsides only after you destroy something. And the destruction can be through action, the destruction can be through word, the destruction can be through the thought. But nevertheless, anger subsides only after you destroy something. So, by and by what happens? An angry person develops the destructive nature. Destructive nature. And the destructive nature is what is known as causing himsa. The destructive nature is what is known as causing himsa. So the opposite of it is ahimsa. Ahimsa na அடுத்தவளை ஹிம்சிக்காம இருக்கணும். இல்ல அவ்வளவுதான். That is ahimsa. How do you cause himsa? How do you cause himsa? How do you cause himsa? A satisfaction out of destruction. A satisfaction out of destruction. Today I gave it nicely. Satisfaction. Pravada means gossip. What is it? Can you talk about the Kalyana Guna in gossip? Can you gossip about the Kalyana Guna? Kalyana Guna is auspicious. Kalyana Guna means auspicious qualities. Can you ever gossip about the auspicious quality of anybody? That's boring, sir. That is too boring. What is that? He is a good person. அவ்வளவுதான். அதுக்கு மேல அதல சொல்றதுக்கு ஒண்ணுமே இல்லையா? There's nothing after that. That's all. He is a good person. அதுக்கு மேல என்ன சொல்? But that person you can pravada. A satisfaction out of destruction. If not, God will take care, no sir. God will take care, no. Supposing if God takes care by giving that person a lottery, now what will happen? God will take care, no sir. Now what do you mean? God should punish. Not that punishment. That punishment will cause suffering, and that suffering is joyful. Himsa it is. And relishing that himsa. Dharma one, sir. Vedanta is correct. Dharma one. How Dharma one? Somebody is going through suffering. And that suffering causes Dharma one. And another 100 crores is added to his bank balance. What happens? Stomach burning, Shankar. Correct? He only says that. He only said that, no? Prasad? He said that, no? Even before I can conclude, he said it. Stomach burning. அவ்வளோ வேற. Your stomach is burning there, I can smell it here. The stomach burning. All this is relishing the suffering. That is why they talk about one of the, now, very, very crude state is that, where you relish the, instead of thinking how you can be of some solace, instead of thinking what you can do to relieve that person of that suffering, opposite is to relish. Cause and relish. That's the anger. Please understand. Anger means causing and relishing. Vicarious. Most of the time it is vicarious. Comedy. One fellow is getting beaten up by 20 fellows. Everybody is laughing. No? Even our entertainment is what? Movies, one fellow gets beaten up by 20 fellows, and then he will say, "Oru varam vechina achanga sir na appa what?" 20 years later also you still see it and laugh, no? நினைச்சாலே எவ்வளவு சந்தோஷமா இருக்குது. வெச்சின்லாம் அடிச்சாங்க சார். Instead of, there has to be a subtlety not to even associate with that. Yeah. There has to be a subtlety not to even associate with that. That is as far as anger is concerned. That's why they say don't get angry. When a wise person gets angry, there is compassion in that anger. In a wise person's anger, there is compassion. In an ordinary person's anger, dvesha. This is a fundamental difference. Words will be the same. Expression will be the same. There is a fundamental difference. In a wise person's anger, there is karuna, there is compassion in it, love in it, affection in it, your welfare in it. That is why when Buddha gets angry, you should be grateful to his anger, because in that anger lies your welfare. When an ordinary person, when an ignorant person gets angry, in that anger there is dvesha. That's why an ignorant person saying, I am fighting for righteousness, for the right reasons I am getting angry. Idalla no justifications. I wanted to use something else, but no, I fight only for நியாயமான காரணத்துக்கு தான் கோபம் வருமா? What is genuine reason according to me? That which satisfies my desire is genuine. That which interrupts with my desire is, I have all the reason to get destroyed. Are you able to follow? That is why in the relative stage, fighting for an ignorant person saying, I am fighting for righteousness, Allah, sugar coated dvesha, avladha. But what is hidden is dvesha. Why they talk about this fear and anger and why they talk so much about this fear and anger. And most of the times we are only a victim of these two. Only when you get rid of these two, you will be able to deal with the other manifestations. So first thing is how to learn to deal with these two. What is that two? Anger and fear. In a wise man's anger, there is compassion. In an ignorant man's anger, there is dvesha. Are you able to follow? Arjuna came into the battlefield with the intention of killing with dvesha. Krishna says kill. There is a difference. Both are not the same. That's how it is. Arjuna came into the battlefield with lot of dvesha. If Krishna didn't place the chariot in front of Bhishma and Dronana, and if he had placed the chariot in front of Duryodhana, fight would have started. Bhagavad Gita la irukave irukadu. You follow? Krishna also said kill. Arjuna also came with the intention of killing. Both say kill. But both are not. That is why Krishna can boldly say, though killing, you will not incur sin. Though killing, you will not incur sin. One of the complicated ethical statements to have been made ever by a human being is this: though killing, you will not incur sin. How is it possible? When we talk so much about himsa and dvesha and all that, how can? Arjuna's problem is this. Arjuna's problem is what? How can I kill with compassion? That is Arjuna's problem. That is everybody's problem. You can do it if you understand it as a leela. It's a sport. For you have nothing to do with it. This is jnana. Are you able to follow? The backdrop of Gita itself is an explanation of it. Arjuna came into the battlefield with the intention of hatred. You follow? Okay. Understand it like this. Remove Krishna from the scene. Badri, what is it? Remove Krishna from the scene. What is that? Huh? Land dispute, Correct. It's a civil dispute. It's a civil case. Civil case is for a civil dispute, you don't murder. You don't murder 45 lakhs for 18 akshaunis. 18 akshaunis, if you translate it into our modern numbers, it comes to 45 lakhs plus. In 18 days, 46 lakhs human beings are slaughtered. 18th day night, how many are left alive from the battlefield? 8 fellows are kept alive. 5 from the Pandava camp, 3 from the Duryodhana camp. 46 lakhs people got into the war and 8 fellows are survived. Yeah. Even Holocaust, Hitler kuda ivulu. So what is the righteousness in it? It is Krishna that brings in the dimension of righteousness into it. And how he brings in the righteousness into it? What ought to be done, Arjuna? Do it. But you don't have to do it with dvesha. Arjuna's problem is the motivation to kill, the energy to kill, the vega to kill will come only from வரும் சாந்தமா ஓம் சகனாவத்துலாம் சொல்லிட்டு போய் கோன் கில்னா இது என்னது? Jnana tapasa, purified by the fire of a person who is purified by the fire of knowledge functions this way. A person purified by the fire of knowledge functions. Why? Because at the core he understands that he has nothing to do with. At the core he understands that he has nothing to do with what is happening. What is happening is because of the role that I chose to play. Having chosen to play that role, you play that role, but you have nothing to do with the role that you play. Now, why do you have to do that? Because you chose that role to play. No, nobody forced you into it. You already, having chosen, might as well play. Running away is not a solution. Why? Because you run away, wherever you go, you will take up another role there, leave it halfway and go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. So wherever we go, we leave things leftovers. Yeah. Another Chandogya Upanishad calls it as Karma Sesha. Karma Sesha. You should act in such a way that there should not be any Sesha. Sesha, you understand? Sesham na? Leftover. Karma leaves Sesham. What is the Sesha that karma leaves behind? Vasanas, Kama, Krodha, these are the leftovers of karma. What is the other meaning of Sesha? Sesha means it is leftover. That's not the only meaning for the word Sesha. Bharat, what is the other meaning for the word Sesha? Sesham na leftover. He say no, Pitru Sesham, leftover. What is the second meaning of that leftover? It can't be given to anybody else. Sesha means it is leftover and can't be transferred to anybody else. So your karma Sesha is yours. Nalla jeevichirukkum, he says. That Sesha is for because that karma is not driven by jnanam. That karma is driven by avidya, ignorance. When actions are driven by ignorance, Sesha will be, you helplessly you have to leave Sesha. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, okay, by you running away, if you are going to attain moksha, run away. That is the right thing to do. But then what you will do? What you will do? You will go somewhere else, take up another role, halfway through leave that also and go somewhere else. So if you look back, at some point of time, if you look back, what have you achieved? That is why the orthodox people has a contempt for that word Sesha. Sesha nale, the word Sesha nale, there is a contempt. Ippadala illa. So all are mixed up, no. Even the security fellow will not take it. That is why it is called Sesha. Karma Sesha. Desires are the vasanas. In the chronology of action, vasana drives, vasanas create actions, and actions create more vasanas. Cyclical it is. Jnanam comes and breaks the cycle. What is the cycle? Vasana, thought, desire, action, attoda it stops. The cycle is Jnanam comes and cuts the cycle. What is the cycle? Vasana, thought, desire, action, stop. Many have done this by listening to this, by following this. Many have done this, and I have also done this. Arjuna, what are you waiting for? Next week lend I will start, sir. Next week lend I will start. That's why it's called tamas. இந்த தமோ குணால they say affinity to leftover food, they say, no? Tamasic food illa affinity to that which is leftover. அது 3 நாள் கழிச்சு சாப்பிட்டாதான் நல்லா இருக்குமா? You know, temples, Vedanta Academy, எல்லாம் ஒண்ணுதான். Because all 3 meals are fresh there. No, what a luxury it is to have 3 fresh meals. No sesha must be behind. It should not be left behind. It means you need jnanam to do that. Otherwise it is only avidya. And what is it causes? Fear and anger. Fear, already explained. What is it that drives? That's why we don't use the word fear nowadays. We use the word insecurity. Both means the same. Insecurity. What is the insecurity? வானான்றது வந்துடக்கூடாது. வேணுன்றது விட்டு போகக்கூடாது. மாத்தி சொல்லக்கூடாது. வேணுன்றது அப்படியே பிடிச்சிட்டே இருக்கு. It has to be there permanently. That which I don't want should not come. It means permanency. So impermanence causes fear. So more you associate with the impermanent, more you will be in fear. And what is impermanent? Down the line, Brahma length, down the line everything is impermanent. So what is impermanent? Now they said down the line, Brahma length, down the line everything is impermanent. Brahma is impermanent. The results of the action as in papa and punya, sukha and dukkha, that is also impermanent. If all these are impermanent, down the line everything is impermanent. If all are impermanent, from where does the search for permanency is coming to you only? From where did this come? Because that's your original nature. If from Brahma to down the line, if all are impermanent, if permanency is the real true nature, from where did the search for permanency coming to you? It means somewhere in the deepest core you are that. That's why you are unconsciously, unknowingly seeking that in the wrong areas, in the wrong direction. Many have attained this. Many have attained this. Attained what? Freedom from desire, fear and anger, absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, purified by the fire of knowledge. What is purified by the fire of knowledge means? Vichara, with inquiry, questioning, not as in a journalist question. He is also questioning. But in that question, there is no worshipfulness. So that's why it's called worshipfulness, upasana. Mam upasvitaha. By taking refuge in me, you do that. You will be purified by the fire of knowledge. Like many have attained my being, you can also attain. Like many have attained. That's why he says this verse shows the way to attain the supreme being. So first thing understand fear and anger. What is anger? I'm just summarizing now. What is anger? What is anger? Causing and relishing suffering. Causing and relishing the suffering of others. Others, that is very important. Others. Fear. Fear is in relation to the insecurity. How do you do that? By knowledge. How do you transform? By knowledge. So in knowledge, first thing is repeated hearing. Repeatedly you hear. At some point of time, questioning starts. And when questioning happens, along with that questioning, there is a worshipful attitude. Freedom from desire, fear and anger. By this method, many have attained my being. Many have attained my being means you can also attain. That's the implication. Many means avanga ellame pannirukkranga. Why can't you do? It's like that. Many have attained my being, meaning you can also attain. சரியா?